I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 204, Grudges. Hello, my lady. If you have a spouse that is struggling with a pornography problem, then you are in the right place. My name is Jolene Wynn, and I am a life coach, a member of the LDS faith, and the wife of a former porn addict. And in this podcast, I am going to teach you how to change the way that you are affected by your husband's choices. We can't change him, but what we can do is change the way that you respond when he makes the decisions that he does. I'm going to teach you how to manage your brain, how to process all of the emotions that seem so overwhelming to you so that you can finally live a life where you aren't living in fear of triggers and relapses. And by learning how to manage your mind and process your emotions, you are no longer going to be running on an emotional roller coaster, but you are going to start feeling so much more in control of your life no matter what your husband is doing. And I'm going to teach you all of that on this podcast. I can't wait to get started with you, and I'm so glad that you are here. I promise you, you're in the right place. Hello, my ladies. How are you? I have missed you. I just got back just not a few hours ago from going to see the solar eclipse. You guys, it was amazing. It was completely worth traveling to wherever to go see it. What's it called? In totality. Oh my gosh, it was the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. It was magnificent. And when we started watching it, I just when it finally, the moon came all the way in over the sun, I just started laughing. I just could not believe what I was seeing. And it was absolutely worth the 19-hour drive to Texas. And it was a bonus because I got to spend the day with, I got to spend a whole week with my brother and my sister, and I got to see my other sister on the way out there and my other brother for the day. It was like this little mini family reunion, and my mom came, and it was so much fun. And my son, Weston, turned 11 while we were there, and it was just an incredible trip. And we just got back, and I feel so rejuvenated. I took the whole week off. We counted it as spring break, and I have just felt so inspired, so excited for you. I have so many podcast episodes coming. I have so many classes and courses coming up for you guys that I have planned out already, and I cannot wait. I have everything planned in my business up until July, and I'm so excited for all of it. And the first thing that we're going to do is next week, I am doing a masterclass called Healing Resentment. That is going to be April 22nd to the 24th, and you can sign up today. I'll put the link in the show notes, and it will also be on my website. So you can either go to the show notes, click the link, or you can go to my website, jolenewynn.com, and you will find all the information there on Healing Resentment Masterclass. This is a masterclass that I am turning into a course. So we have a whole bunch of one-off online courses. These are the masterclasses that I've done, and I've created them into a course that you guys can just enroll in. You don't have to be part of my program. And this is your opportunity to come do that live. And it's so powerful because we always have these really nice intentions, right? It's the intentions we have, oh, I'm going to go back to school, or I'm going to go take this course, or I should read that book. And then it just sits on the shelf, or we never do it. And it's 3 years later, you remind, oh yeah, there's that. I was going to read that book, but I never did. Same thing with online courses, ladies. It's oh yeah, I really need to work on this thing. But unless we actually have something kind of forcing us to do it, we don't really do it, even though we have the best intentions, right? This is your opportunity not only to, it sounds bad, to be forced to do it, but to do it in the best way possible, because I'm going to be leading you through this. This course is taught in this masterclass, this Healing Resentment Masterclass. I'm teaching it inside my coaching program, but I'm opening up a limited number of spots for those of you that really feel oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need, then this is for you. And I want to encourage you to sign up today. There's an enrollment price. It's $199 if you're signing up before the class. Once the class starts, you will be able to sign up, but then it'll be the regular online course price of $299. So you can save $100 by signing up today. And again, I'll put the link in the show notes, but this is going to be taught workshop style, which means that everyone that comes to the calls, I'm going to be leading you through the entire process. We're going to not only dive into what resentment is, we're also going to be working through an actual process of how to conquer it, how to overcome it, how to retrain your brain so that you no longer hold on to it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. but this is where I'm going to be working with you live. So if this sounds like something that you want, if you're tired of resenting your husband, if it's that bitterness is kind of coming between you and your spouse and you don't know how to get rid of it, then this class is for you. Sign up today, reserve your spot, come join me next week live, and I will work through it with you so that you will confidently see the tools. You will feel confident in your ability to keep progressing with these tools. You'll come knowing exactly what to do and leave a completely different person. Okay, so that is what we're going to do next week. Again, all the details are in the show notes. You can click that link and you can sign up today. And as I was thinking about resentment, I was thinking about what creates resentment. And one of the things that does, or an indication, maybe a clue that you have some resentment underneath inside of you that you aren't even aware of, is if you are holding a grudge. Okay, because sometimes we have a grudge and we don't even realize we have it, which sounds ridiculous, but let's actually go into the definition of what a grudge is. Okay, as you guys know, I always like to do this. So go to the definition, go to the dictionary. A grudge is a persistent feeling of ill will or resentment resulting from a past insult or injury. Okay, I love this. Okay, so again, if you are holding a grudge, and I love even just the terms that we use, we call it holding a grudge. It's something that we hold on to. We hold on to the resentment of from a past illness or injury, insult or injury rather, right? So let's say, for example, your husband did something that injured you emotionally in the past, right? Or insulted you in the past. You get to choose whether you hold on to the resentment that you feel as a result. Now, I'm not going to argue with you on this podcast episode about whether or not he actually injured you. Let's say, for argument's sake, that I'm on your side with this, ladies. Okay, I believe you. He did something and it hurt your feelings. He probably did a lot of some things that hurt your feelings. I'm with you. And you are absolutely justified in feeling the negative emotion that you feel from it. But let's talk today about what happens when you hold on to it. When you hold on to that negative emotion, when you hold on to that and you allow it to fester, that turns into a grudge. That's when we don't just feel resentment, we actually hold on to it, okay? So I want to kind of, as I was thinking about this podcast episode, I was thinking that there are kind of two kinds or categories of grudges, okay? And I'm going to talk about both of them today. And again, if you are seeing signs of this in your relationship, then this is an indication that you have some unresolved resentment that you're holding on to. And again, I would encourage you to sign up for my masterclass so that I can help you work through it, okay? Because we're going to talk about what it leads to, all right? So the first category of grudge is obvious grudges, okay? These are your surface level grudges, and they're ones, ladies, that we're almost proud of. Isn't that crazy? Most of the time, these are the ones that we tell our story around. We tell our story to ourselves. We might even tell it to other people. And they come out especially when he's still not doing anything to change, when he's still not changing his behavior, when he's still repeating the same things that he was repeating before, when there is no indication that anytime in the near future or the far future, anything will ever change. That's when we feel very justified in holding on to this resentment. So rather than it just being a pain that we felt from a past injury, there's the pain that we felt from the past injury, and then we hold on to it and we start telling a story about it. We start telling our story about how it's not fair and how it shouldn't have happened and how we were just the innocent bystander and we did nothing wrong. And again, ladies, I'm on your side, and maybe all of that is totally true. But when we are holding on to that, it starts to turn from pain into resentment. And then when we hold on to that resentment is when we keep our grudge. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit later about why we do this, and what it creates and why it's a problem. So again, we have these kind of obvious grudges that are definitely when we feel justified in holding them. We feel like we're justified, especially when he's not changing his behavior. If his behavior created the pain or the injury, and then he continues that behavior, we feel very justified in holding onto the resentment. And here's the thing, ladies, it feels real good to hold a grudge. It really does. Because our brain is so good at telling us that we are right and they are wrong. And again, I'm with you. He's wrong, ladies. Absolutely. What he's doing is wrong. You are right. But I want to offer that holding that grudge isn't serving you and it's not helping. And I'm going to go into why in just a little bit. Okay. Now, the second category of grudge, first we have the obvious grudges, and the second one are the sneaky grudges. Now, these ones are a lot more fun, I think, because these ones are the ones that kind of come up subconsciously. And I'm going to go through some examples. But these sneaky grudges is the resentment that we aren't fully aware is there, or we haven't fully accepted that it's there, okay? And it'll come up in snarky comments. I was talking to my husband about this and he was like, no, Jolie, that's just how your resentment comes up. And I said, no, it's not just me, I promise. I have coached so many clients on this. And I'm going to go through, there's several ways that this can come up, and that's just one of them. It might come up in snarky comments. It might come out in a witty retort. It might come out in a spicy little reminder to him when he says something, right? It's that initial thought that pops into your head that isn't all that friendly, okay? So let's do some example. And this might come out in, here's the tricky thing, especially when he's being nice, okay? This is when the sneaky grudges come out, because the obvious grudges come out when he's not being nice, because then we feel very justified in having the grudge. The sneaky grudges are the ones that come out more when he's being nice. So let's go over some just examples, okay? Like, let's say, for example, he says, I was thinking that for our anniversary, we could go to that restaurant that you love. Okay, he says, and that sounds wonderful. He's trying to be nice. If you have some resentment, if you're holding a sneaky grudge, then what might happen in your brain is, rather than thinking, oh my gosh, that sounds so nice, I'm so glad he thought of that, instead it'll be like, oh, you mean the restaurant where the last time that we were there, all you did was ogle the waitress the entire time? I don't think so. Did you hear that? It comes out a little bit differently. There's the reference in your brain to his past behavior. And rather than it shutting you down, rather than it being like, oh my gosh, I forgot, like, remember that last time? Oh, that was so devastating, right? That's very different. This sneaky grudge, the resentment, is kind of rooted in bitterness. And that bitterness can make us very defensive. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Okay, let's do another example of how you might know if you have a sneaky grudge. Okay, it might also come out, rather than just like that witty retort or that like snarky comment, like I just said, it might come out in being unable to take his compliments, right? Or to believe him when he's saying something nice. Let me give you an example. Okay, he might say something like, you are so beautiful. Now, most of us would think that sounds so nice. I would love to hear him say that. But if you have some unresolved resentment, some bitterness over some past behavior of his, then instead your brain might throw a sneaky little snarky grudge in there, and instead it'll say, well, not beautiful enough though, right? Because if I were, then you wouldn't be doing what you did. Does that make sense? So the point is, like, it doesn't even matter if he's continuing the behavior that he is, as long as your brain continues to bring it up, as long as your past hurt is not healed and it's unresolved, and your brain is using that pain to justify bitterness and resentment, then it's not going to go anywhere. And again, here is the problem with this. The problem with your brain bringing up the past, the problem with your brain bringing these past experiences to the present, is that, number one, they start to build a wall. Okay? Now, your brain is doing this out of the best intentions. Okay? Your brain is doing it, one, because it feels really good, right? Again, it does feel really good to hold a grudge because you are right and they are wrong. And when you hold that grudge, you get to be the one who is right, and that feels really good. But second of all, our brain likes to bring it up because our brain has this idea that it feels safe to remember that he hurt you, okay? It feels safe to your brain to bring up the past because it thinks that if you bring up the past, then you can somehow prevent yourself from getting hurt again in the future, right? Does this make sense? But your brain doesn't understand that this is a false protection, because no matter how much you bring up the pain from the past, it doesn't make future pain any less painful. You cannot feel your feelings in advance. I can't sit here right now and say, my husband might relapse tomorrow. Let me go ahead and not get my hopes up, and let me not bring my defenses down, and let me not, feel anything positive toward him, because then it'll mean that it won't hurt tomorrow. No, if my husband relapses tomorrow, it's still going to hurt. All that happens when we hold on to grudges is we deny ourselves the possibility of connecting to our spouse, because this resentment is a wall. It's a self-defense mechanism, and self-defense is a wall. It's a barrier between you and your spouse. This is why it feels so hard to connect. If you are having a hard time connecting with your spouse, this is probably one of the biggest reasons why, is that your brain wants to bring up all of the past pain. It doesn't know how to let it go. Even if you want to, and I know so many of you are, which is why I'm teaching this class. So many of you want to let it go, but you don't know how. So many of you are trying to let it go and you don't know how. And I was there. I totally get it. One of the ways that we try to force ourselves to get past resentment is to try to talk ourselves out of it, okay? Especially when it's those sneaky grudges. Consciously, we're like, no, he's doing all the right things. He's changing his behavior. He's saying the nice things. He's going and doing all the right things. And yet, occasionally, when he says, I just love you so much and you're so gorgeous and I'm so attracted to you, all I can think is, yeah, I don't believe you for a hot second, because if you were really that attracted to me, where have you been the last 12 years while you've been looking at whatever it is that you want online? Right, ladies? You with me? Okay? When your husband is doing all the right things and those snarky comments are coming up when he's saying things, this is an indication that resentment is still in there. And trying to talk your way out of it by telling yourself all the things that he's doing, all the right things. No, I shouldn't think this anymore. It's not a problem, because look, he's changed. Look, he's proving himself. Look, he's doing everything I want him to do. None of that matters. You cannot think your way out of your feelings. You have to feel them. You have to process through the past, and then you have to retrain your brain in order to stop having it create and rebuild that same wall that's creating the barrier between you and your spouse right now. Does that make sense? So right now, this resentment, these grudges that you're holding on to are creating a wall. And this is what's creating that distance between you and your spouse. Or what happens is we have these grudges, and what ends up happening is, rather than it coming out defensively or maybe argumentatively, is that instead we withdraw. And maybe you just have those little thoughts in your head, and then you isolate and you pull away. And again, all that does is create more distance. So if you are feeling distant from your spouse, if you're feeling disconnected, if you're feeling this barrier between you, if you are having either these obvious grudges or these sneaky grudges, then I really want to encourage you to sign up for this class and come work with me, because I will teach you exactly how to work through this. And I will help you do it on these calls, so that by the end of the week, this is not a confusion for you. It's not a question of how do I do it. You will know exactly how to do it, and you will have already started the process with someone who's done it before, with someone who's going to work you through your specific thoughts and situations, so you don't feel lost and alone. If you are seeing, just keep an eye out this week, ladies. Really dive into your brain, be onto your brain. Notice when it has these obvious grudges, and notice when it has the sneaky ones too. And don't judge yourself for them, girl. Trust me, I've done it myself. Notice them and be aware of them, and that's when we can start to change them. So be onto yourself, ladies. Watch your brain. Pay attention to the obvious grudges and the sneaky grudges. And if you want help, I'd love to see you in this masterclass next week to heal the resentment so you can finally start moving forward. I love you, ladies, so much. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week. So take care. All right, ladies, it's time to rise up and take charge of your healing, and I have the best way for you to do it. I have created a lifetime access coaching program that I have designed specifically for you and exactly what you're going through right now. This is where I help you develop a personal mastery of all the tools that you're learning here on the podcast in order for you to create a permanent change. Go to my website, joleneWynn.com. You will find all the information there and you can sign up today and we will start going forward. I can't wait to see you there.